My parents keep sabotaging every relationship I had. They finally revealed why.
It's because they're the Beastie Boys.
It's sabotage!
February 13th, 2025. I was very shy during high school and didn't leave my house unless I had to. As a result, I didn't get a boyfriend until my freshman year of college. By the way, this comes from Fun Following 76, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, after 7 months of dating my first ever boyfriend, I brought him to my parents' house for dinner so they could meet him. I had to step away for roughly 10 minutes to help my older sister with her baby. When I came back, my boyfriend, then 20 male, and my dad, old, were having a full-blown fist fight. We managed to stop them and my boyfriend stormed off without saying anything. My dad insisted my boyfriend was incredibly rude and disrespectful to him and my mother. He said a guy like that was no good for me because he just ended up doing the same thing to me. I was shocked that my boyfriend could do such a thing. He has always been extremely sweet and I had never met or heard anyone not liking him. When I called him, I told him what my dad had said about what happened. All he did was laugh and says I could believe whatever I wanted before blocking me on everything. I was deeply disturbed by this, but my mom and sister insisted that he had just shown his true colors and said my dad saved me from an I reluctantly accepted this, but something about it felt really off. I met my second boyfriend several months later during my sophomore year. Part of me still felt my parents were part of the problem with my last boyfriend, so I managed to get him to wait an entire year before introducing him to my parents. From the moment she laid eyes on him, every word my mom spoke to him was dripping with fake friendliness and subtle jabs, implying she did not approve of him. This made him visibly uncomfortable. While we were eating dinner, she began asking me why I decided to date my boyfriend. She asked about other guys and why they didn't work out. Some of the guys she asked about were completely made up. At this point, it was clear what they were trying to do, and I silently vowed to talk to my boyfriend and tell him how my parents were trying to sabotage me. Unfortunately, it didn't get that far. My dad chipped in and demanded to know how a boy who couldn't support himself financially was ever going to support his daughter. Mind you, we were both juniors in college at this point and both working part-time jobs. So this question was really insane. My boyfriend responded by saying he had already decided he wanted nothing to do with this family and was planning to break up with me when he got home. But now he was just going to leave immediately. Within minutes, he was gone and I was blocked again. My parents insisted they did nothing wrong and were just testing his confidence, as my parents would. But I pointed out that this was the second boyfriend they chased away, and they never did anything to scare off my older sister's husband. I went low contact with them after that. However, fast forwarding a little bit, I eventually allowed them to gaslight me into introducing them to my third boyfriend, whom I've met towards the end of my senior year. And basically, the same thing happened.
Seems like a bad pattern to be in.
Yeah. I made it through college unable to find a long-term boyfriend purely because of my parents. I met my current boyfriend, 28 male, 2 years ago, and I've managed to avoid introducing him to my family thus far. Whenever he brought it up, I always had a really made-up excuse prepared to explain why it wasn't possible. This has been pretty easy since he usually only asks about them when planning for major holidays. I have fallen madly in love with him and hope to start a family with him one day, but he recently told me he can't allow me to move in with him unless he had a chance to meet my family. Fair. I do not know what to do. I know my parents will make it their mission to break us up if they meet him. But based on his insistence, I realize I can't put off this any longer. Usually, relationships end because of something one person in the relationship says or does. It's incredibly unfair that I always end up single because of things I can't control. I want to tell my boyfriend about my parents and insist that meeting them is a bad idea, but I've listened in some of his conversations with his friends, and the general consensus among them seems to be that a girl with a super dysfunctional family is a massive red flag and an indicator of what their married life would look like.
If your potential partner is too reliant on the opinions of his friends to come up with his own ideas and decisions, that's a big red flag for me.
Yes.
And you can tell him. You can tell him about your parents. You can say, hey, I don't have an issue with you meeting my parents. In fact, I want you to meet my parents, but I also want you to be prepared. Because one thing my parents are going to do, they're going to prod you. They're going to test you. They're going to poke us. Honestly, I think they're going to try to break us up because that's just what they do.
Yeah. And be ready for that. Communicate it. So here I come asking, how do I approach the problem that is my parents without risking losing the longest relationship I've ever had? If my parents end up being the case of yet another breakup, I just don't know what I'll do. I don't know. Communicate with this guy. Come on. Edit. Wow, I made this post about an hour before going to bed. Woke up to quite a few comments. Thank you, everyone. I am not fully going no contact with my parents, primarily because they helped me a lot financially during college and when I first graduated and was looking for a job. When I went low contact with them, they constantly yelled at me for being ungrateful and said family does not turn on each other over minor disagreements involving boys. Sounds ridiculous when I type it here, but after months of this treatment, when I found myself faced with the decision to either tell them I forgave them so they paid for my dorm room or refuse to forgive them and have to move back home, I ended up caving. Why didn't I stand up for my past boyfriends when I saw them verbally being mistreated? I don't know. I've never been allowed to talk back to my parents, so the thought of calling them out while we had company over was not something I realized I could do, I guess. My arguments with them after they ran off boyfriends 2 and 3 were the only 3 times I've ever come to full conflict with them in my entire life. I will be going to my boyfriend's house today after work and will tell him everything. I'm terrified he will still want to meet them. Just thinking about it has me shaking at my desk, but you all are right. He has a right to know and make his own decision. Edit 2. I told him and even showed him this post. To make a long story short, he still wants to meet them, but thanked me for telling him, as he always figured something was seriously wrong. My parents host dinners for our family every Sunday, and we will be attending this one. I suppose I'll make a new post with an update afterwards. Top comment 428 which you should stop bringing anyone like you around them, period. Tell your boyfriend why. They get weird and run anyone you date off with their nonsense, and you'd rather just avoid them altogether. My boyfriend knows all about my dysfunctional family and upbringing. It didn't run him off. If anything, it brought us closer, as he has emphasized.
Would you at
Yeah.
that?
Edit to add, we just celebrated 6 years together. The right partner won't hold your family against you. You couldn't choose them after all.
Whoa.
That's really good. That's a good comment.
I hope that that's the exact situation here, is that you are open about it and then they go, okay, let's go. We can do that.
This is tough. I mean, if I was with Angie for a year and she was not wanting me to meet her family, I still, even if it's not the best situation, I'd still be like, let's just like meet them, get it over with. I don't know. I don't like the thought of being hidden or me being like, ooh, I can't tell my family. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that.
There's one thing of like hiding your partner because you don't want to meet them because it's dysfunctional, but if they don't know about it, that's another thing. If your family is off the walls and not great, I don't know. Like,
yeah, she's definitely not going to meet my Atlanta family. Oh, heck no.
But but there's a difference between hiding your partner and not introducing your partner to crazy people. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell them. It's just gotta be in
You gotta tell 'em.
you just gotta be vulnerable and honest and
You gotta be-
open about it,
gotta
which
be
is
proud of
really
who you
tough
date.
relationship.
It is tough. We have another update 5 days after. I meant to make this update a lot sooner, but since my last post, a lot has happened. I truly appreciate all the comments I received calling me out for hiding my parents being insane from my boyfriend and encouraging me to be honest with him. My boyfriend is pretty involved now, so I guess I should give him a fake name. We'll call him Ethan. I sat Ethan down and told him about my parents and how they run off my previous boyfriends before showing him my original post, as many recommended. Fortunately, he did seem to care that I hadn't told him, but he agreed with many comments that my parents were more than just insane. They were outright. Although he understood how I felt, he still said he would like to meet them, both to see it for himself and because he felt there was an underlying reason for their behavior. My parents have dinner for the family every Sunday, which I have been attending on the weeks that I am not hanging out with Ethan that day. So we agreed that we would come to the next one. When Sunday came, we arrived at my parents' house. My anxiety was through the roof. Ethan had agreed to leave with me the moment things started to get out of hand, but with my parents, that could have easily been as soon as we walked through the front door. Surprisingly, my parents were very nice. My dad actually seemed excited to see Ethan, and my mom fawned over her daughter bringing home such a handsome, confident-looking man. I couldn't understand what was happening. Ethan even shot me a look a couple of times, as if to silently ask if he was missing something because my parents were actually lovely. I want to provide a play-by-play of the entire night, but the post would be just too long. The point is, my parents had done a complete 180 from their previous behavior, and it made me look and feel crazy for trying to warn Ethan about them ahead of time. During dinner, my mom said she was happy to see her daughter had finally found someone who wasn't judgmental and was willing to give me a chance because of the person I am today, since the past doesn't matter. My heart dropped. Ethan says he does not know about anything in my past that may be cause for concern, and my parents exchanged a concerned look, as if it was rehearsed. My dad asked him why he thinks my previous relationships failed, and he said he was under the impression they got scared away after meeting my parents. My mom looked at me with disappointment on her face and said, OP, is that really what you told him? I was at a loss for words. But Ethan was not. He said it's pretty clear they were trying to plant seeds of doubt in him about our relationship, but he wasn't interested, as he knows me well enough to know my character. He also pointed out that even if there was something seriously wrong in my past, parents who loved and supported me, or even just wanted grandchildren, would keep it a secret to avoid ruining my relationship. My dad said he already has 2 grandchildren and motioned towards my sister, who did not have her kids with her that evening. Ethan said my dad must have been very supportive of my sister for her to be able to start a family while he tried to run off any guy I brought home. My dad's response was very casual, but extremely shocking. He said, of course, she's actually mine. Everyone was quiet for a few moments until Ethan spoke up and said that now all the abuse they've put me through is starting to make sense. My mom said he was spouting nonsense and that I had not been mistreated in any way. She then looked at me and admitted her marriage had a rocky start, but both she and my father had moved past that.
Bro, she's an affair, baby? Secretly, maybe? With no utter confirmation?
Is that what just happened?
Yes. That's what he just said. Well, yeah, because she's mine. And then mom's like, he's just talking crazy. And you know what? We did have a rocky start, but me and your dad, we worked everything out. It's like, did you have an affair and I am not biologically related to my dad?
I was too busy replaying my entire life in my head to say anything. The previous boyfriends, the lack of support for my social outings growing up, the volleyball games I had to have a friend drive me to because my parents were always too busy, the rage I was always at risk of facing if I ever spoke my mind, all while my sister got the opposite.
Dude, this is a Harry Potter and Dudley type scenario. This is crazy.
I started to cry the hardest I have ever. Ethan immediately announced that we were leaving. My dad demanded we stay here where we could clear things up. Ethan ignored them as he pulled me out of my chair and led me away. My mom screamed at me not to leave, saying that this guy was trying to isolate me from my family. I yelled back that if anyone had been trying to isolate me, it was her for my whole life. As we drove back to Ethan's place, my mom sent me several text messages cussing me out, saying one mistake doesn't change the fact that my dad loved and supported me and raised me, and that he would always be my real father. Ethan said he's not your dad. He's an controlling a-hole who was taking his insecurities out on you. I ended up blocking both of my parents' numbers because they were saying some truly awful things to me, both about myself and Ethan. Ethan said he was expecting them to be crazy. This was far worse than he had anticipated. He told me I need to go to therapy immediately and that he would pay for anything my insurance doesn't cover. My parents showed up at my apartment twice yesterday to demand I come out and speak to them, but I've been staying at Ethan's all weekend and will likely be here all week. By the way, if you want to be with us all week, all you got to do is go to your favorite podcast platform, that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, search up OK Storytime, and boom, we have enough content to be with you not only for a week, not only for a month, but for 50 days straight.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Great boyfriend. W. Ethan.
Yes, huge W for Ethan.
I know this is very recent, but I do wonder if there's anything else because it seems like these people will spiral. Showing up at her apartment, yelling at her.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably immediately seek some kind of restraining order or make something official with the police if they're going to continue to harass you like that. Because I don't know, it's like the way that you described being like othered your whole like upbringing is pretty wild.
Yeah,
I don't know what would make them behave this way. I'm sure the mom has her own guilt over like the affair, and then the dad clearly has unresolved issues about it. And it's like in my head, it's like he's gonna run off every man that OP's with because he wishes that he could have done the same thing when his wife was cheating on him.
Wow.
And then maybe out of some weird like feelings of like guilt or responsibility, the wife also plays into that so that she can make up for the mistake that she made in the past. I don't know. Whatever it is so just a cauldron of stanky, effed up nonsense.
Yeah.
Just get away from it.
let's get out of here. I'm not sure if this is an update y'all wanted. I had countless people enraged at me for being spineless and not standing up to my parents, and while I plan on doing so, that's not what happened. I don't know what is going to happen with my parents or where I will go from here, but now that the holiday is over, I could spend some time looking for a good therapist. And then one commenter says, so your mom cheated on your dad and you are the affair baby and they treated you poorly because of that? Is that the story, or has my reading comprehension failed me? Maybe you have a great father out there somewhere. 23andMe. Ethan sounds great. The truth shall set you free. So a commenter asked, after reading this whole story, I just have the following questions. 1, did you take an ancestry test to find your real father? 2, if you find your real father, will you build a relationship with them and tell your mother how her and her husband treated you? 3, did your sister know about all of this? 4, did you expose this revelation to the rest of the family, or did a majority of them already know? 5, did you block your mother and her husband's numbers? 6, why didn't your sister ever defend you? 7, did you seek legal advice to see if you can sue those monsters for emotional distress, neglect, slander, defamation? 8, if your family knew that you were an affair child, will you go no contact with them? And OP says, hi, I've been unplugged from this account for a while, but here is the best way I can answer those questions. 1, I didn't have to actually. My mom eventually admitted who it was, and it was a former coworker. Told me his name and where he lives even. She claims he has known about me from the beginning and just wanted nothing to do with me. I don't know if I can believe this is real or not.
Definitely do not believe her.
Yeah, no.
Go find out for yourself.
2, I have no idea. I've known where he is for about 2 weeks now and haven't gotten to meet him yet. I'm not sure what I would even say to him or his family. Ethan has offered to take me, but I told him I'm not ready yet. 3, yes. 4, the closest immediate family knew, for the most part. My very existence was a family scandal in quotes because it's a joke Ethan made at one point. 5, this might be controversial, but my parents are unblocked. It was initially because my mom told me she would tell who my real father was if I did. I considered blocking them again after the fact, but doing that would make me feel bad. They've been giving me my space though. Not too bad. 6, my sister is probably the biggest update I have. We actually started to get really close this past month, more than we had ever been growing up. Some of the stories she told me about her parents would make a more insane Reddit post than mine even. I think my parents are just horrible people, honestly. 7, I don't know the first thing about how any of that would work, and the thought of suing my parents scares me. 8, I don't hold it against them. So no, I'm not bothered by the fact that I'm a fair child. I still consider my dad to be my dad. I just think he's an a-hole. What really gets me is the years of abuse I've been dealing with. I've been in therapy the past few weeks and have already started to see the various ways they've been psychologically abusing me my whole life without me realizing it. I was always taught wanting things made me inherently selfish, even if it did not harm anyone else. And that was the root of so many of my insecurities growing up. That's a bit of rambling tangent, but that doesn't have anything to do with your question. Sorry. And that is the end of
I don't know what the suing process would be like, but this is so absurd and like such a crazy secret, and they've treated you so poorly like your entire life. I don't know, like if there's anything you can do to make them like legally at fault in this context. I don't know.
I don't
know though.
Look into it.
It's definitely a scary thing to think.